Occidental College Science Professor Caroline Heldman joins us now to help sort all of this out. Let's start with this G7 summit, Professor, because we just heard the president come out. It was a little, you could feel the tension almost, in my opinion, because he just imposed these harsh tariffs on these countries, and then he was going to meet with them to make peace.
Right, and these are our allies, and they're all upset about the tariffs, mostly because it's going to possibly escalate a trade war. What's happened so far is Trump's 25% tariff on steel and 10% on aluminum has drawn a response from Mexico. They are now taxing to the tune of about what will cost us about $3 billion. Cheese, some bourbon, other products that are coming from the heartland that specifically target states that should be voting Republican come 2018. So this will have an effect on the elections, possibly in the midterms.
Interesting. And with all this tension going on, do you think that anything will actually be accomplished at the G7 summit?
It doesn't appear that anything will happen. Donald Trump arrived late, not willing really to listen to everyone, the chorus of 6 versus 1, and he left early in order to go meet with North Korea. But at the end of the day, you know, he's been someone who has not listened to his party on this, because many members of his own party are very critical. He hasn't listened to allies on this, and it does appear that he is getting us into a trade war that is entirely of his own making, if you will. So America first has really become America alone when it comes to the economic global stage.
And President Trump, of course, saying that he believes Russia should be included in the G7 summit. Of course, we know that Russia, after the annexation of Crimea, they were asked to leave. Many other leaders feel that they should not be included. Why is the president asking for Russia to be included?
And this is the million-dollar question. He's under investigation, as we know, for possible collusion with Russia. And John McCain, really, a member of his own party, said it best that obviously the annexation of Crimea is a reason that Russia can't be in the G8. It would be if they were actually included. But also that their activities in meddling with elections around the globe, including meddling in our election, and their support of the regime, the Assad regime in Iran, that is killing its own people. On all 3 of those grounds, it makes no sense for Donald Trump to be making this offer.
Well, you touched on it, Professor, that he is leaving early. We know he's heading to Singapore to meet with North Korea's leader. This is a historic summit. We know that he has said that the only way this can be a success is with complete denuclearization of the Korean Peninsula. Is that a possibility?
Well, it is so highly unlikely that no one really thinks it will happen. And the reason being that Kim Jong-un and other leaders, previous leaders of North Korea, their major bargaining chip, and the reason that they are a major player in terms of domestic or foreign policy, has to do with the fact that they have nukes. They're a nuclear threat. We would not be talking about Kim Jong-un today if he did not pose a nuclear threat. And this is what he wants. He wants attention. He wants a seat at the global stage. And he definitely wants the President of the United States to sit down with him, because it makes it look as though he, a millennial dictator of a rogue country, is somehow the equivalent of the U.S. president, which is why leaders have been from North Korea have been trying to get presidents to sit down for 2 decades. The odds are almost nil that he will give up his nukes. So at the end of the day, the question is, what will Donald Trump give up when he goes?
There has to be some concession. And interestingly, it's my understanding that Kim Jong-un will actually have a battle at home, because this is the furthest he has traveled to Singapore since he took office, and that there could be a coup or someone vying for his seat because it's such a harsh government there.
Right. This is how dictatorships work. So the fact that we are sitting down with a dictator and thinking somehow there's going to be some rational response, it is a policy that conservatives critiqued President Obama for even suggesting, rightly so, I think. I don't think we should be sitting down with him. I don't think this is going to be effective. And Donald Trump is, the question again is really how much of the farm he's going to give away when he sits down, in terms of concessions on, raising restrictions, allowing more trade, perhaps freeing the Japanese prisoners. And that would be, I think, the best outcome of the summit.
Okay. Thank you, Professor Heldman. We really appreciate your time and insight, as always. So much to talk about.
Yes,
thank you so much.